as we take the anthem, the women anthem. Longing to be free, no longer in the shadows, forced to stay behind, but side by side in true equality. So sing a song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development, and peace. So sing a song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never, never cease. So sing a song for women everywhere. Equality, development, and peace. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Our Chief Magistrate Eli Humana, welcome ma, the Mother Chair from Fida, Akwa Ibom State. It's a pleasure having you here, ma. And our Chief Magistrate, Esther Etugudo, and she's a Fida from the branch, so she's our own. All right. Without much ado, I want to just get into the welcome speech. And this speech is brought to you by Idemeka, the chairperson of Fida, Eket branch. All right. Good afternoon, distinguished member of the bench and bar, learned colleagues, senior colleagues, learned colleagues, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this special session, jointly hosted by the Women Forum of the Nigerian Bar Association Eket branch and the International Federation of Women Lawyers Fida Eket branch, under the theme Lawyers as Catalysts for Social Change and Policy Reforms. As lawyers, we are more than interpreters of the law. We are the custodians of justice, the defenders of rights, and the agents of societal transformation. For us, gentlemen in skirts, as we are called, this responsibility carries an added dimension. We stand at the intersection of law, advocacy, and service, lending our voice to the vulnerable, challenging discriminatory norms, and championing reforms that advance justice, equality, and human dignity. Throughout history, women lawyers have played pivotal roles in shaping policies, expanding access to justice, protecting women and children, and influencing legislative and social reforms. Our work reminds us that true legal practice extends beyond the courtroom into communities, into institutions, and corridors of policy making. So today's session has been deliberately designed to be a wholesome one. Beyond examining the roles of lawyers in policy reforms, we will also explore issues that affect us personally and professionally. We shall discuss health and wellness in legal practice, financial planning and retirement, the law as an instrument for protecting women and children and vulnerable persons in the society, and we will also discuss building influence and visibility beyond the courtroom. Our goal is not only to inspire legal excellence, but also to equip lawyers, especially women lawyers, to thrive in every sphere of life and leadership. I encourage everyone to participate actively, share experiences, and take away practical lessons that will enrich both our profession and our communities. So on behalf of Fida Nigeria, Eket branch, and the Nigerian Bar Association Women's Forum Eket branch, I warmly welcome you and wish us a rewarding and impactful session. Thank you very much and God bless you. You're welcome. I can do for the chairperson of Fida. Appreciate her. Thank you very much, ma'am. Please, if you know you came in for this very program, please come in and have your seat. Before I do that, I would like to introduce our moderator in the person of Barrister Dayo Ojoawo. Please can we give it up for her as she makes it to the podium. Please, the ushers, assist her. Please, hand of applause for her. Welcome. The Chief Magistrate, Helen Issa Umana. She is the lead speaker for today, and in case it will interest you to know that she holds 2 master's degree, one in international trade, University of London, UK, which was obtained in the year 2010, and another from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and currently holding a doctoral degree. Please give it up for our lead speaker for today. You're welcome, ma'am. Discuss on different topics, which will also help what the lead speaker is going to say. And to bring to the podium also, one of the panelists is another Chief Magistrate in the person of Esther Etokudo. Please give it up for her. And she'll be speaking to us today on the topic building influence and legacy in legal practice. Mary Peter Ekong. Nurse Mary Peter Ekong. Well-being of legal practice. Honorable. You're welcome, sir. And the last panelist we have, though not the least, is Glory Atadiaga. She is the Senior Sales Manager of Salam Alliance Insurance. For most of us who are getting to retirement, she's going to tell us how to survive the economy of Nigeria and make more money even outside the courtroom. You're welcome, ma'am. You're welcome, ma'am. Please, without spending much time.
Our protocol duly observed. I want to say a big thank you to the organizers of this program for giving me the opportunity to be here today. I say God will bless you all in Jesus' name. And that in this profession, we will all excel and make it exceedingly, successfully, credibly, in Jesus' name. The main theme of this beautiful session is called Lawyers as Catalysts for Social Change and Policy Reforms. And theme focuses on shifting the legal profession from a passive, reactive system to an active driver of societal evolution. And the above described theme we definitely explore how female legal professionals can strategically use their knowledge, the networks and authorities to dismantle systemic inequalities and draft fairer laws, regulations, and see maintain their roles and responsibility as women in their different categories and all. May I therefore, with due respect, invite the lead speaker of this program, of this session, in the person of our own magistrate, Emi Umana, to the podium. She's going to talk on the theme of this beautiful session that I call lawyers as catalysts for social change and policy reforms. After that, all other speakers will also talk about their own different topics. Welcome. Round of applause for the Chief Magistrate who is going to be the lead speaker. Very round of applause, very good one. We are giving our Chief Magistrate, Ellen Umana, just 20 minutes because she just told me now, she said 1 hour or 2 hours. Can we take 1 hour, 2 hours? So we are giving her only 20 minutes because they are trying to prepare this all for our dinner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give it up to our moderator? Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you. The chairman of today's session, the discussants, the chairman of MBA Eket branch, and other eminent lawyers present here, eminent Fidans present here, and also MBA female lawyers all present here. Please can you just applaud yourselves? I don't think you want to applaud yourself. Applaud, give yourself a resounding round of applause. Thank you so much. First, I want to thank the organizers of this program for giving me the privilege to be here today to speak on the topic lawyers as catalysts for social change and policy reforms and social focus on female lawyers. Now, by way of an introduction to the topic for today, we all know that the legal profession occupies a very unique position in every society. And lawyers are not merely interpreters of laws, they are active participants in shaping the social, economic, and political direction of a nation. If you remove lawyers from every society, that place will be lawless. So through advocacy, litigation, law reform, initiative, public enlightenment, policy formulation, legislative engagement, lawyers influence societal policies and values, and they facilitate change. Anywhere you see a lawyer, expect positive change in that place. So in modern democratic societies, lawyers serve as a bridge between the people and government institutions, ensuring that laws reflect contemporary realities. In Nigeria, the role of lawyers in driving social change has become increasingly significant, and the contribution of female lawyers to this process deserve particular attention. While women have made remarkable progress within the legal profession, significant disparities still remain in terms of representation, in terms of leadership, policy influence, and access to opportunities. Consequently, this discussion, concerning lawyers as agents of social change must also examine the role of female lawyers, the challenges they face. We know that female lawyers face a lot of challenges, and the areas in which their participation is essential for achieving a more inclusive and equitable society. Now, we know the meaning of catalyst. Catalyst, is a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction without being consumed in the process. Now, a catalyst is a person, or a thing that provokes or speeds up significant change. Now, as female lawyers, as a lawyer, you are a catalyst in any way you find yourself. You are supposed to promote change in any way you find yourself. That is why you are a catalyst. And now, what is social change, or policy, or reforms? Social change is the alteration or transformation of cultural norms, social institutions, and societal structures over time. Now, policies, we know that policies are government, official decisions, guidelines, actions, while reforms are targeted at changes made to a law or a system or an organization. to put all this together because of the topic, a lawyer or a female lawyer is a person that provokes or speaks significant changes and alters or transforms cultural norms, societal institutions, and societal structures of governments through targeted changes made to a law in order to correct faults, improve effectiveness in government policies. Now, let's look at now historical antecedent now. How did we come about, having female participation, female, as catalysts? If we go back to history, we will know that, the Aba women riots. There was a riot at two of us in where? In Ikorobasi. And these women went to the streets to demonstrate. Even today in Nigeria, we still have pockets of protest and demonstration and all that. It is targeted at changing a particular societal norm, to change something for the best. Now, the essence of that about women, the lesson from that historical event continue to resonate within the legal profession. Though they were not female lawyers, but they were women. And the event is one of the most significant examples of collective action leading to policy reform in Nigerian history. It was after those women went to the street that there was this policy reform, which became positive in Nigerian history. Now, female lawyers as catalysts to policy reforms in contemporary Nigeria. How? That's the next question. What do you mean by that? How you as a female lawyer, how can you become a catalyst in where you are seated right now? In even this Eket, how can you be a catalyst, to bringing out positive reforms in your environment where you are seated? How can you be a catalyst? How can you speed up a reform? A norm that is not functional, a norm that is not, right. How can you, bring about positive reform? So female lawyers have increasingly contributed to policy reforms in areas such as gender equality, child protection, access to justice, electoral participation. Now, Fida and other NGOs recently, they joined forces with other NGOs to fight for additional or reserved seats for women bill, known as the Special Seats Bill, a proposed constitutional amendment designed to correct the severe underrepresentation of women in Nigerian governance, to increase the number of women in the legislative seats in the country, and the protection of vulnerable groups. You see, with that, by that singular act, they have also added their own voice as catalysts to change, so that the number of seats for women will be increased. Their involvement has helped draw attention to issues that were previously overlooked within legal and policy discussions. Another one, legislative reforms addressing domestic violence or spousal battery, sexual offenses, offensive conduct, workplace discrimination, and harmful widowhood and traditional practices have benefited significantly from the advocacy efforts of women within the legal profession, especially International Federation of Women Lawyers, Fida, and civil society organizations. These reforms reflect a growing recognition that effective legal system must respond to the experiences and realities of all members of the society. Now, let me break it down. I came here with the VAP law. This VAP law, that a simplified version of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law 2020, was initiated, followed up by International Federation of Female Lawyers. Can we clap for them, please? They took it up to the State Assembly. They took it even up to the national for this VAP law to be put into law. Why? Because there was a gap. They saw some obnoxious practices. They saw some, pattern, cultural practices that were, repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And they came up together and said, no, this must not take place. And they brought out this law. This is what we are talking about. Catalyst for positive change as a legal practitioner, female, lawyers as it were. So a good example is the VAP law, which has redefined the offense of rape to include any person who intentionally penetrates the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person. Before now, we know that there was an exclusion to this. You know, penetration in mouth was not there. But with this VAP law, it came about with, it became very inclusive, included so many things in there, so that rape now is very rich, you know, and so they have redefined the offense of rape to include any person who intentionally penetrates the vagina. You know, if you use what now? You use an instrument, that is still rape, you know, going by section 1 of the VAP law. Now, or any part of without the consent or permission of the other person. Through force, tricks, deceit, that person has committed rape and will go to prison for life, and compensation awarded to the victim as the court considers necessary. So this is an expansion of the definition of rape, as it were. Now, female lawyers have also contributed to expanding access to justice. It's not only rape, there are so many others now that, because of time, I will not be able to look at them in the VAP law. We have physical injury, we have coercion, we have offensive conduct, prohibition of female genital mutilation, frustrating investigation. All these, I want you to get the VAP law so that you know what is, you know, in there. Now, female lawyers have also contributed to expanding access to justice through legal aid initiative, pro bono, legal services provided by Fida. In short, since I became the chairperson of Fida, my phone has been hotline. 2 a.m. people are calling me, 3 a.m. they are calling me, you know, they have sent me out of the house, sponsor battery, you know, so many cases. You now know that people have issues, you know, not only women, because we balance it. Even men have come to the Fida office. They've cried out to be included in even what Fida is doing. That their wives are beating them as well. And so we also cover them as well, you know. We come here, we balance it. We call such women and we counsel them and say, no, you don't have to behave like this. Because what is good for the goose is good for the... Thank you very much. So we have legal services provided by Fida for indigent citizens of Akwa Ibom State, ranging from family matters, rent, civil, human rights advocacy, and community-based legal education programs. By providing legal assistance to marginalized and vulnerable population, they have helped bridge the gap between legal rights and practical access to remedies. Furthermore, female lawyers have become increasingly involved in policy discussion concerning economic inclusion, educational opportunities, digital rights, and governance reforms. Their participation introduces perspectives and enrich policy development and contribute to a more balanced decision-making process. Now, let's look at now areas where women remain unrepresented, you know, in the legal profession. If you take the number, you see that, if I'm not mistaken, maybe women are even more than men in the legal profession. Even when you want to go, it's possible, right? Even voting, if you want to take the count, more women line up than even men. So that makes me to think that we have more women than men. I might be wrong, but that's my own position for now. Now, despite notable progress, women continue to face significant challenges within the legal profession. One of the most evident areas of deficiency is leadership representation. Although women constitute a substantial percentage of law graduates and young practitioners, they remain underrepresented in senior leadership positions within law firms. If you take a count to most of the law firms, you see that the head of chambers is always the man. You know, male lawyers and all that. Female lawyers, they have a very negligible percentage. If you also look at professional associations, regulatory institutions, and policy-making bodies, in the NBA, female representation remains low. 5 of the 128 branches are led by female lawyers in 2023. Only 5. The rest are male. In 2024, 35 of the 720 SAN were women. Out of 720, only 35. Let me come to my own constituency. The judiciary also reflects disparities in representation, particularly at the highest level of judicial administration. Since independence in 1960, Nigeria has appointed only 2 female chief justices of the Supreme Court. As at 2022, women made up only 27% of the Court of Appeal justices and 35% of the Federal High Court judges. While women have attained important judicial positions, their overall presence in leadership roles remain below what would be expected given their numerical participation in the profession. Now, another area of concern where we really need women, to be catalysts for change. Another area of concern is legal academia and the legal scholarship. Female academics remain unrepresented in senior academic positions. How many of professors do we have? Your guess is as good as mine. Most of them are male. Research leadership roles and major law reforms initiatives. Increased participation in these areas will enable women to contribute more effectively to intellectual discourse and policy developments. Women are similarly unrepresented in even legislative drafting, constitutional reform processes, and strategic governmental advisory positions. Since many laws and policies directly affect women and families, greater female involvement in these areas will promote more inclusive policy outcomes. I'm sure that was why they had to agitate for the increased number of seats. Because when the chiefs are down, is it not those who are in the bedroom or in the where you're having decision making that will come up with decision? True or false? So if you don't have your own person talking for you, at the end of the day, the decision will be against, because there's nobody talking for you. And women have a lot of issues. So the question is, how many do they have in representative capacity when decision taking is involved? Now let's look at challenges now that are hindering participation of women to become, catalysts for change. First, several factors continue to impede the full participation of women within the legal profession. Cultural stereotypes often associate leadership and authority with men. You are a woman, sit down, your place is in the kitchen, stay there, even if you are a female lawyer. I came in contact with a female lawyer recently, and she just gave me several reasons why she cannot even make it. That her children are this, are that, and I said, look, are you saying I don't have children? It all amounts to focus. You focus yourself. Because while the men are also focused, and it's a competitive world, they will not give it to you like that. You have to earn it. Tell somebody sitting by you that you have to earn it. You have to earn leadership position. You have to earn it. Yeah, thank you. So this perception can affect recruitment, even in the place of recruitment, even in the place of promotion and all that. They'll say, oh, she's a woman. Oh, let's go for the man, so that you don't want a situation where you're going for maternity leave and all that. I want to go and do school runs. I want to pick my kids and all that. Men don't want to hear that. So women, if you want to stay in the, where authority decisions are taken, you have to know how to manage that aspect of your life. Female lawyers face systemic harassment, particularly in private practice, with no effective mechanism for redress. Recently, somebody came to me and said she wanted to do a divorce case. And I just looked around, which of the female lawyers will I send this to? And unfortunately, most of the female lawyers are in the Ministry of Justice, Judiciary, magistracy and all that. Where are female private practitioners? I practice in Lagos, and you see the likes of, top shot female lawyers practicing with their law firm. They prefer to go through the hurdle. They prefer to run the streets. But over here, we just, I don't want that stress. I don't want to walk the street. Let me just go to government where they will pay me. How can you be a catalyst for change if you think like that? So your mindset must change as well. So work-life balance challenges also affect women, particularly during critical stages of career progression, when they are having their babies and all that. The demanding nature of legal practice combined with societal expectations regarding family responsibilities may limit opportunities for advancement. I told you it's a competitive war. And no male lawyer is ready to allow any female lawyer to come close. So you must earn it, you must work for it. You must make them know that you know what they know and you are ready. Recommendation in areas where female lawyers need to take greater leadership. 1. Female lawyers must increasingly occupy spaces where major decisions concerning law, governance, and public policies are made in academia, in legal practice, private firms, magistracy, the bench, Ministry of Justice. With that, you can become a catalyst for positive change, for reforms in Akwa Ibom State, even in Eket where you are domiciled. Another area is constitutional and electoral reforms. Greater female participation in constitutional review exercises, electoral policy discussions, and participation in electoral positions will help ensure that governance structures reflect broader societal interests. Another critical area is law reform and legislative advocacy. Women lawyers should assume more prominent roles in committees responsible for reviewing outdated laws and proposing new legislative frameworks. Their perspectives are particularly valuable in addressing issues related to family law, labor rights, education, healthcare, technology, and social welfare. Now also the corporate sector presents another significant opportunity. Female lawyers should strive for greater representation in boardrooms, agencies and all that, commercial disputes, regulation and all that. So their involvement can contribute to more balanced and inclusive economic policies. Women lawyers should also take greater leadership in public interest and advocacy and community development initiative. Through strategic litigation, legal education, and policy engagement, they can continue addressing systemic inequalities and expanding areas to justice for the vulnerable population. In Fida, we do that a lot. We go on advocacy to communities, and we make them know, for example, we use the VAT law, and most of them, when we go, they'll tell us they don't know anything about, they've not heard of this law and all that. And there was a case that came to Fida, and it was an 8-year-old girl that was violated by the village chief, whom the grandmother kept, in the compound to stay with and all that. So he violated the girl. And they brought the girl to our office. This little girl, as small as she was, very sharp girl, she couldn't sit, she was still, sitting around her bumper and all that. So we took her to the hospital. The matter is in court, and the village chief is in court. So we now went to that community, Fida went to that community to do an advocacy. And when we got there, we discovered that there was like a clique, there was like a clique of people that were engaged in that. Because when we mentioned it, that we're Fidas, we're female lawyers and all that, they started laughing. And what will these ones do? We read it word for word. The punishment that rape is life imprisonment. We went down the round, all the sentences and all that. I could see their posture changed. Then I said, wow, these lawyers are very interested in, they are serious and all that. And we discovered at the end that it was a clique. So we now put representatives, in each of that ward, so that they were giving us information. They became our ambassadors. That was how we were able to break that cartel. So the point I'm making is that advocacy is key in changing, changing as a catalyst to change a norm. A norm is a pattern. Those people were in charge. I'm sure they must have read so many other people before we got wind of what happened. But after we went there to do advocacy, things started changing. They started calling us, say, oh, this one is also involved, or come and carry him and all that. So that's why we're able to break that. So advocacy is key to changing, a particular norm. Now, in conclusion, because of time, female lawyers have contributed significantly to these efforts and have played important roles in advancing justice, equity, and human rights. However, substantial gaps remain in leadership representation, policy influence, legal scholarship, corporate practice, and governance. To maximize the transformative potential of the legal profession, women must assume what? Greater leadership in law reform. I'm sure we have here women, MBA Women Forum. Yes. You can team up together, make like 10 like minds, and come up, look at the policies. The one affecting children, the one affecting women, even men. You can come up with that policy and move it to the state assembly. I know they invited Fida one time for this, sitting position stuff. And we went there. That was my first time of going there to listen to what they are doing. You can take these policies, to for reforms. Instead of sitting down and complaining, be that channel of change, of positive change for reforms. Be that catalyst to change something where you don't like what you are seeing. Constitutional developments, corporate governance, even male lawyers. The election is coming in next year. We have seen the handwriting on the wall. Some people say they didn't finish the election before the election. You can be that catalyst as a lawyer. Like I said before, a lawyer is somebody that can speed up reformation, speed up reforms. Because you are educated, because we know the law. So we shouldn't just sit down and complain. No, we can make a change. We can be that catalyst, to making a change. The NBA can come up with policies and take it up to the House and come up with a particular bill, accredited to the NBA.
Our Chief Magistrate, she has done justice to the topic. That female lawyers, if we remove female lawyers from this society, there will be vacuum and disorderliness. And the lawyer serves as a bridge between people and governments. That notwithstanding, that there are so many challenges that female lawyers are facing and which can be dismantled. We are supposed to promote change, and that is where we are called the catalyst. Are we not the catalyst? We are, because we are supposed to promote change. They're supposed not to be stagnancy. Wherever female lawyers are, they're supposed to know that we are there. Don't you think so? Answer me. We are not supposed to be mundane. We are not supposed to be brushed aside. We are supposed to be there. And let them know that female lawyers are there for change, and for good changes. She also mentioned about VAP law as an instrument of change, expanding access to justice, that even men have been saying what the female lawyers are doing. They have been patronizing Fida, MBWF, that they should be part and parcel of the reforms of change. And that notwithstanding, she also mentioned about the review of laws, the educational, the healthcare, and the family law, as well as the constitutional development. She has used her wisdom and knowledge and understanding to make us to know what we have not known before. I pray that God will continue to give her wisdom to be able to excel in all our endeavors. In Jesus. With due respect to the Nani magistrates to Kudu. Therefore, our next speaker, I was just told now that as an urgent meeting somewhere should be called. Our topic is life beyond active practice. Life beyond active practice, how lawyers can prepare for retirement and long-term financial stability. This shall be handled by Madam Glory Taja. You are welcome. Round of applause for Madam Glory.
Thank you very much for that understanding. The chairman of the Bali Committee, the chairman of Eket branch, distinguished members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Glory Atalia, FIMC. I represent Salam Alliance Insurance, formerly known as First Bank Insurance. Here with me is Mr. Tari Sampson and Mrs. Choma Okene. We are actually here to throw a little light, because of the time we have been given, on the topic life beyond active practice, insuring against retirement risk. When people hear about retirement, there's always one thing at the back of their mind. So permit me to state that I am not learned in the law, but I am learned in risk. Lawyers are risk professionals. You draft contract to allocate risk, you advise clients on liability, and insist on professional indemnity cover. Yet, most lawyers practiced for 35 years without insuring one risk that is 100% certain. So this paper today will treat retirement as an insurable risk and argues that the prudent lawyer builds 4 forms of capital with insurance as the foundation. You know, when we talk about insurance, most times the conflict is always there because, like us that are formerly known to be with the bank, and they always have this mindset, financial institution. When I walk into the bank, the only thing at the back of my mind is to ensure that I open an account. But insurance takes care of risk. When you get an insurance, you are indirectly moving your risk to a reputable company that will be able to give you peace of mind and take care of your assets and your loved ones. So retirement risk, for people that are retiring, you will do everything possible while you are in active savings. But life after retirement is the beginning of a new life. So I'm going to run through the 4 things I want to talk about. Retirement risk, the uninsurable liability. In insurance terms, retirement risk has 3 elements. Number 1, frequency. And that one is very certain, that you will stop earning active income. Definitely. That one is certain. Number 2, how severe it is. Severity is that it is very high. A 20-year-old retirement at a current Eket lifestyle, for those of us that reside in Eket, we actually know that the lifestyle here is very high. The cost here is between 50 million to 100 million. Everything we want to say lifestyle at retirement. So number 3, I'm going to talk about the current mitigation. It is actually very weak. Over 70% of your RSA, that's your retirement savings holder, cannot maintain pre-retirement lifestyle with only pension. No matter how much your pension is, you cannot maintain your lifestyle with 70% of your RSA. And this has even been confirmed by PayCom. So lawyers insure their cars, they insure their offices, they insure their personal income, their properties, and every other thing. Few insure their future income, and that is the coverage gap that we came to talk about today. That gap that you just feel you're insuring the things that you have now and forgetting the 100% certainty, which is your retirement, and it is a risk. So number 1 of it is an insurable framework for retirement. So I'm going to talk on one of it, which is the financial capital. Your solvency reserve. Just as Daikon will always require insurance to hold reserve, you must reserve to pay your own living expenses at retirement. How will you do it? You can place a target. 25 times your annual expenses while you're at work before age 60. Number 2, what are the tools you are going to use? You can use your RSA, that's your retirement savings account. You can also do your voluntary savings, which is under pension reform. You can also do contribution, but you should know that these contributions are tax deductible. And the deductibles are up to 20% of your income. And other supplementals, which we have the mutual funds, we have the ABN funds, we have the real estate, and other investments like your discretionary reserves. So if you have this, you have started building your financial capital. Another one is your income capital, which is the annuity rider. That is where we come in. We should know that this risk, the billable hours will definitely stop. And you also know that there is an age, which is there is guaranteed or semi-guaranteed cash flow at retirement. So that is the age you have to look out for. And under is we have the annuity contracts, which will help you at retirement. So insurance companies offer this annuity and active savings. They are both insurance policies with us. We talk about the children's education plan, which gives you opportunity to save for your children while they are still young, towards their secondary, their university, and the master's or whichever level of education you want to give them. That is not normal banking for children's education. Under insurance, which you know, if you are actually handing over that child's education in case of unforeseen. Now, if you bring in this, you will be able to know that that particular social capital, which they say a lapse policy pays nothing, but a life without purpose in retirement also lapses. When policies lapse, you started running a policy. You want to save for your children for a period of 10 years, and you just did for 6 months, and you done the policy. It has lapsed. It will amount to nothing at retirement. And at the time the child is ready to go to school, the money is not there. What about yourself? You pick up a personal retirement plan that is meant to go maybe for 5 years or 10 years. And along the line, after 6 months, after 1 year, you've forgotten about it while you're running other forms of investments. At that point, that policy has become lax, so it amounts to nothing. That's the same thing that happens when you have built all your identity, but you have forgotten to prepare for your retirement. It becomes lax as well. Another way you can also prepare is through your health capital. If anything happens, this is what will amount for my loved ones, for my family members, and that is what we call the life cover. And critical illness, we do not pray for illness, but when we have planned towards it, should I become critically ill at retirement, I don't want all my life savings to be wiped out because of health expenses. So you can buy the critical illnesses cover, which sometimes might be a one-time payment. For instance, the family share 1 year with a cover of 1 million naira. You can also choose other ones which you can do monthly and determine your cover. Even if you want your cover to be as much as 50 million, you can decide, because when you discuss with the agent, run the quotes for you, and you know that under health care, you have been able to cover your health capital at retirement. You can also do number 4, underwriting your retirement. So what are the actions you will take while you are still active in savings? You can break it into your career stage. From age 25 to age 35, you can start your RSA savings on your voluntary contribution. You can pick up any of the plan, and you can buy a term assurance plan. Term assurance plans are the ones that we cover and it expires in durations. Or you can buy a whole life. That whole life means there is no expiration as long as you are on planet Earth. The policy covers you and provides financial assistance even any unforeseen happens. You can also do between age 35 to age 50, you can buy any of the endowment policies. What are the policies we call endowment? The ones that gives you maturity benefits. And those ones are the ones I've talked about, your children, your loved ones, your family members, which you save money. You could be a bulk lump sum amount, you could invest under insurance, knowing that insurance is security. Even in your absence, nobody can take it away from them. You've heard what is happening around the world. How people build a lot for themselves, acquire a lot for themselves, and after a period of time, they happen to be no more, and somebody takes it away from the children or the people he kept them for, because there is no security. At the 50 to 65, you can convert those savings you had into annuity. What is annuity? Annuity is pension paid through an insurance company. It pays you for life. We actually know that there are other forms of pension through the PFA, which you earn every month at retirement. But always know at the back of your mind that those savings that are paying you will definitely finish based on the amount of money that is in your RSA account. But if you do an annuity policy, it actually means that it's going to pay you for life for as long as you're on planet Earth. So if you do, you can pick up that between age 50 to 65. Then from 65 years plus, you have to draw down everything to be tax efficient, to derive tax from your money from being taxed. So you can transition to be an advisory role without them taxing you for anything. So not the end of work. It is the end of dependency on work that you are doing now. So as professionals who advise clients on risk, let us be prudent risk managers for our own selves. Underwrite your retirement now. And I don't know how you intend to do that, because I have listed out all the parts you can take, the 4 parts you can take. And let this bar week of 2026 be the time for you to make your choice and the necessity you ask. I want to ask one question, and that question is, if they ask you now, what is your RSA account, your retirement savings account? How far have you gone? How many years of savings are you in already? Number 2 question I want you to also take home and ask yourself, what guaranteed income do you have now if your work should stop tomorrow? Thank you very much.
The insurance bureau, she has explained to us vividly that we should be sure because of tomorrow. She also mentioned about RSA, that is retirement savings accounts, about financial capital, income capital, social capital, policy continuation for children. She mentioned about health capital, that we should be consistent with our policy. She said if we fail to be consistent with our policy plan, it will become lapse. She mentioned about HMO. She also advised that we can buy a life cover for 100 years or for 200 years or for more years. And that we can start from age 35 to proceed and invest in some of the insurance policies. It is good for us to have. Then we lawyers, we do advise our clients. Why don't you do your will? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? We should also advise ourselves that we should go into insurance policies because of tomorrow. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Is Chief Magistrate Esther Etukudor. And our topic is beyond the culture, building influence, feasibility, and legacy as lawyers. And this shall be handled by Chief Magistrate Esther Etukudor. A round of applause for her.
The Chairman of Session, please permit me to adopt the existing protocol. I'm not going to say much, but I want to appreciate the NBA Women Forum for according me this honor to do my presentation. I'm speaking on the topic that says, beyond the courtroom, building influence, visibility, and legacy as lawyers. You know, everyone knows us as lawyers. And they expect us to end everything to happen and to end inside the courtroom. But we are here to talk about what are the other ways, what are the other things we could engage in, or how could we influence others as lawyers, apart from defending them in court, apart from writing their briefs, apart from prosecuting them. So this topic is going to cover both the men and female. So please don't say because you are not in Fida, it's none of your business. We are talking about influence. This paper is not talking about negative influence. We are going to deliberate on positive influence. Talking about visibility, talking about legacy. We may not buy influence with money, and visibility with money, and legacy with money, but there are other things we could do as lawyers that will impact other lives, and you will forever be immortalized, not only in the courtroom. Apart from being in the courtroom, there are other things like assisting in shaping the law. How? comparative analysis of the system, of our legal system here, compare it with other countries, and see what is happening there. If there is anything positive that you wish to bring in, then you bring in. That is outside what you do in the courtroom. And once you are notable for that, your legacy will outlive you. You can also do that by making recommendations, suggesting ways, maybe like you see that what they are doing in other countries, like the administration of criminal justice law in Nigeria. I believe if we look outside, go to other countries, we will see how they are really putting it into practice. You bring it back and you make recommendations and write your name in gold. Other ways of making influence is guiding lawyers on complex legal matters. You know there are lawyers that even after judgment has been delivered, they don't know the terms of the judgment. And it baffles me that the counsel for the defendant and for the complainant, both of them will rejoice. They begin to rejoice, congratulate their clients in court after maybe an order has been made. They don't understand what is there. If you want to write your name in gold, make your judgment writing concise. Make the language very simple, and even for the blind to read and understand. That's why you will hear people say, let me go to his or her court because I like going there. That's how to write your name in gold, and how to maintain your integrity and register your visibility. Also, you could also write books, publish articles, and transfer the knowledge and ideas that you have into books. Those books, those publications will outlive you. Like now we're talking about the books that were written by that man, The Law of Contracts, Sage, and I think we are still using Sage up to today. Sage is still alive. Talking about when they were homes, talking about Lord Dennings and others. They are powerful readings and everything. So let's put down what we know so that it will uplift us and register our names in gold. Also, we will engage in resolving conflicts, in mediation, in arbitration, and all other forms of ADR, apart from the courtroom now. You are a lawyer and you have the knowledge, go for the knowledge, acquire it, set up a place, and engage in it. That will distinguish you from all those that restrict themselves to the courtrooms. Also, aspire to become members of commissions. Be among those that will make decisions. It's not good for you as a lawyer to be here and people that do not know anything, they will go and make the ones that will be making policies for others, for us. And we must obey because they are leaders. Become a voice. Push yourself in there, not because of politics. Yes, even in politics, apart from culture, engage in politics. We need those that know the law. They always say that it's only the lawyers that know the law and how to apply the law. Everyone knows the law, fine. But if, as a lawyer, you are the helm of affairs, you will make a difference. You don't have to restrict yourself to the courtroom. Engage in politics. I'll be happy if the lawyer is president of this country. I believe that so many things will change. And yes, my recommendation now is look beyond the courtroom. Look for gray areas. Think about what you can do in order to make a difference. Impact life. Assist the young junior lawyers. Even though they feel they know it, they don't know it. Experience. Experience is more important. Those of us that have been in the system a very long time, and those of them that are coming just from, just being called, the excitement is there, the anxiety is there to make it. As a senior lawyer, you could announce your visibility, influences the junior lawyer. Let me say something very funny. when I began my own journey as a lawyer, thank God, the former chair, I saw him the other time. Oh, I never realized I ignored him. When I got into the courtroom and before Justice APN, then as he then was, I just got in there and said, my Lord, I was so full of myself, so proud that I'm a lawyer. My Lord, I have a motion to move. And the man said, move your motion. And I said, I moved my motion. And that was the end. So when I noticed that was just, and it is nobody applauded me. The expression on the judge's face was like, what is this one doing? I said, my Lord, I moved my motion and I sat down. Until when the man had to adjourn the matter and ask someone to put me through. That was when my senior, I wish he were here, just took me to the back and everything for me. He said, when you get it, go and apologize to the judge. And tell them, please, you are ready now. And when I got in, that was what I did. I was able to move my motion successfully. So we should be as guides to these junior lawyers. They will never forget you. Imagine me mentioning his name now. He had left a legacy that will outlive him. His influence helped me to succeed. We should not allow the junior ones to roam about. Also, I said earlier on, join politics, please. I mean clean politics. Don't allow the people that are not supposed to lead us, are not supposed to decide for us, to come and impose things upon us, whereas we are learning. Remember the likes of Dora Akinyemi, Gani Fawemi, Molaike, and others. Let us do that. By so doing, we will register our name in Go, and we'll be able to influence people positively. Our presence will become visible, and we will leave lasting legacies. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is a nurse, Madam Mary Peter Ekongo. She's going to talk on health challenges, mental well-being, and work-life balance among the lawyers. You are welcome, madam. Wow. Encourage her.
Thank you so very much. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I'm so glad to be in the midst of these learned personalities to present my health talk on the topic, the weak and wellness, health challenges, mental well-being, and work-life balance among lawyers. The Lawyer's Week is not just an old-fashioned accessory. It represents neutrality, tradition, equality, and professional authority within the legal system. A lawyer's excellence is not just about legal knowledge or courtroom skill. It rests on well-being, which include sharp mind, balanced emotions, healthy lifestyle, which help in sustainable performance. When well-being is neglected, it leads to drop in performance. But when you protect it, excellence becomes consistent. Therefore, a healthy lawyer is not only more productive, but also more effective, ethical, and fulfilled. So my objective on this topic, on this health talk, are recognize common, at the end of the health talk, participants should be able to recognize common health challenges affecting lawyers, understand the impact of legal practice on mental well-being, identify risk factors for burnout and stress, apply practical strategies for work-life balance, know when and how to seek professional help. So now I want to talk on physical health challenges among lawyers. Under that we have sedentary lifestyle and musculoskeletal problems. What do I mean by sedentary lifestyle? You stay at workplace more than 6 hours.
without stretching out. This is a big problem. The common issues can be neck pain, back pain, shoulder strain, and repetition strain injuries. So what do I mean by shoulder strain? The way you position your hand, maybe working on a system. At the end of the day, you start feeling pains in which you cannot turn it, or at times it can be the way you lie. You know, most of us, we like lying down on our bed to walk. So it can pose a problem on your skeletal muscle. Then the causes are long hours at desk, prolonged computer use, poor postures. Then prevention. You make your workstation more comfortable. The chair you sit on working on the system, and the desk should be above the waist, not keeping it below and bending. It will affect your neck and your back. Then stretch breaths. You stand up and walk around, no matter the urgency of the walk. Regular exercise. Then number 2, cardiovascular health risk. The risk factors are physical activities, lack of exercise, poor diet, chronic stress. This chronic stress is not a sudden stress, it's an accumulated stress for weeks, months, then it will now escalate. Sleep deprivation. You know, most lawyers, they work overnight because they want to meet up their time frame to satisfy their clients and all that. Then the outcome of this can lead to hypertension, obesity. Most of us, when we overwork, you know, obesity can arise. You work late and you tend to eat late. All those late eating can lead to obesity, heart disease, stroke. Hypertension can lead to heart disease, excessive stress, chronic stress, stroke. You know, as people now, they will say it's a ghost, echo, it's not. It's the accumulated stress that leads to stroke. You start seeing somebody having slurred in speech, the speech is not clear, paralyzed one side of the body. So it's as a result of stress that we have been putting for so many times, and our system is being overloaded. Then 3, sleep disorders and fatigue. Late night preparation. When you prepare your case, you give yourself time. Have a time frame. You work. How many hours do we have to sleep at night? Oh, we all know that it's 8 hours at most. 6 to 8 hours. You don't sleep 4 hours, and you don't drink more water at night so that it will not alter your sleeping pattern. Excessive screen time. Limit your screen time so that you can rest well. Effects on health. It reduces concentration. Sleep disorders will reduce concentration. It will increase errors, irritability. You are easily irritated, anger. One will not, maybe you go to work, somebody will, the joke he or she has been creating with you because you are stressed, you didn't sleep well, you just take offense. Reduce productivity. Your labor will decrease, your efficiency will be decreased. Number 4, substance use and unhealthy coping mechanism. Excessive caffeine, which is not good for the health. Because you will take caffeine, you pump it to keep you awake. It's not healthy. The effect of it in due course, you start having tremor. That's your hand will be shaking. Alcohol misuse. The misuse of prescribed medication. Maybe doctor has prescribed Lexotan. We know diazepam, that's volume 5. You start using it. The time you're supposed to sleep, you don't sleep because you want to force that sleep to come. You go on medication. It's not healthy. Number 5, mental well-being among lawyers. A, stress in the legal profession. We have healthy stress. The healthy stress comes with excitement, but it does not predispose you to any fear, dread of fear. Then we have chronic stress. That one is harmful. The chronic stress is the one that you burn night, you are going all around without resting. So the sources are client expectation. What is my client expecting of me? So you want to burn your night, you want to overstress yourself so that you can please your client. It's not done that way. Then billable hours. Because this work I'm paid for it, I have to put in more time to be able to, get it. Financial pressure. The pressure, I know everybody is having financial challenge now, but you don't allow it to overrule your health. You don't allow it to, take over your sleep and all that. Look for something that will. That's why we encourage additional sources of income, businesses, so that it will help you to reduce the financial pressure. Court appearance. How will I appear in court? Some of us, we've gone night to check what we are going to wear and how we are going to present our cases. So you work and reduce all those stress. Career progression. We want to get to the highest peak. If it is not comfortable for you to maybe to further, if you don't further today, if you cannot earn a PhD degree today, you can earn it tomorrow. Further your education at a suitable time. Demanding legal work while still maintaining a healthy personal life, physically, mentally, and social. Like I've been whispered that we are having dinner is another way to boost your stress, which is very important. So try and attend. Don't say I have another appointment. This will help you to unleash the stress, the weak stress. Then it's challenging for lawyers because the legal practice is known for long hours and tight deadlines. Set boundaries with clients. Don't be too available. I'm working 2-4 hours. It's not healthy. Prioritize tasks instead of over-committing. Ask for help from others around you. Find opportunities to show kindness to those around you. Take delight in being kind, in being nice to people around you. It helps, eases your stress. Engage in physical movement. Practice deep breathing exercise. At times you have, because of the stress, you may have a chest tight. You practice deep breathing exercise. You take in deep breath and hold for some minutes. It helps. Prioritize better sleep. Avoid screen before bedtime and aim for 6 to 8 hours sleep every night. Balance diet. Prioritize the food that makes you feel good. Sleep well. In this aspect of food, I want to, if it will interest you to know that there are some foods we take at night that really promote sleep. Like banana. Banana contains serotonin and melatonin. So it helps because of the vitamins and the hormones, it promotes sleep. Even plantain. Eating yam at night. For those of us that like swallow as dinner, if you can take okra soup, it helps because it contains melatonin and serotonin. Then tiger nuts. Tiger nuts really, it contains the magnesium in it, help to relax your muscles and promote sleep. Take regular break even during busy hours. Delegate work when possible. Schedule personal time based on appointments. Then regular health screening. Even as medical personnel, we are so lazy in doing a periodic medical screening, but it's important we do it. I can remember when I got employed newly in a government sector. I was working with the ExxonMobil before I got employment. So when I went there, even my in charge, every day she would be complaining of exhaustion. Clients must say, she would just be panting. One day I said, ma'am, don't you think you should do health screening? She said, no, Mary. Eventually, I went to the lab, got specimens. Then I went to the lab, got specimen, but to pay for it. I took her blood sample, went to the lab, she was high. Her blood sugar was so high. She didn't know she was a diabetic. That was how she got to run, commence medication, and she became well. So once in a while, I will encourage us to do periodic check. I know we will say it's expensive, but health is wealth. Without being healthy, you cannot achieve what you want. Profession lies not only in brilliant minds, beneath the weak, but also in healthy bodies, resilient mind, and balanced lives. Thank you.
An instrument for protection for children, women, and the vulnerables in the community. Once again, his topic is the law as an instrument for protection for children, women, and the vulnerables in the community.
Thank you. Alright, so I'll just, all protocols duly observed. I'll just skip quickly to my action points. The topic is law as an instrument for protection of women, children, vulnerable persons in the community. So who is a vulnerable person? Is an individual who, due to age, disability, illness, poverty, social exclusion, and other circumstances, is at a higher risk of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or discrimination. Therefore, requires special legal and social protection. So you have someone that is blind, you have an elderly person. The demands to access law is quite special and should be looked into. So, example of vulnerable people are women, children, persons with disability, including people with mental health. So if someone has mental issues or is mentally retarded, it does not make that person less of a human being. They also require some form of protection. We also have elderly people, victims of violence and abuse, and internally displaced people, and widows and orphans. We all know the laws that we can exploit to provide services for these people. So I'll just move quickly to the low-hanging fruit. So where do we come in as lawyers? I work in the NGO space so what we do in the civil society organization is to provide intervention services for children, vulnerable people, and victims of sexual and gender-based violence. So there are opportunities for further collaboration. I heard when we talked about the marine law, and most of us were excited. There's so much money to make there. But I crave your indulgence that there should also be people that are concerned about vulnerable people. Yeah, so we can't all go into that. So we have challenges around these people. There's ignorance of the law. There are cultural barriers that militate against these people accessing justice. We also have issues around poverty, stigmatization, weak enforcement of the law. So quickly, I have 5 points where the lawyers in the room can take advantage of. Number one would be increased legal awareness. So there's not sufficient legal awareness around sharing knowledge from primary school to secondary school to tertiary institution. So before USA ID folded up, our organization was part of the team that drafted and sponsored the Anti-Sexual Harassment in Tertiary Educational Institution Bill. That bill got into the National Assembly, but it was not given assent by the Buhari's government, and we are still back on it. So I don't need to explain further the issues around sexual harassment in tertiary institution. So there's need for such more awareness, campaigns in secondary schools, campaigns in primary schools. One of our sister NGO runs sexual harassment campaigns in primary schools. So how do you communicate to a child in primary school around sexual harassment? So she comes with a song, and in that song she says, "Tell me the parts of your body that uncle cannot touch. Tell me the kind part of your body that auntie should not touch." So you are communicating something. The 4-year-old child just knows that I was taught in school that uncle should not touch here, and you've communicated something. I was with Madam Edemeka when we went to Eket local government on something like this with the traditional leaders. And I shared the story of a child when one of the cases that was brought to a sister organization with us, the child, when school is over, you go to pick the child from school, the child is crying intensely. When the parents come to drop the child is excited. But when the parents go to pick the child cries, doesn't want to go with the parents. So the teacher was sensitive, pulled the child aside and started asking questions. To cut the long story short, the uncle that lives in the house with the child was sexually abusing this child. So the thought of going back home to see that uncle makes the child cry. So we have cases around that. Now the father of the child got very angry, but for the awareness and knowledge creation, he was able to hold himself. He carried cutlass to break the brother's head. So that would have been too tragic, right? You lose the father and your child is sexually abused. So there's a lot going on, and from the civil society organization space, we are more on prevention of some of these calamities. So there's need for public awareness. Then another sister organization we partner with is called Gender Mobile. So if you pick up your phone, go to your Google store, we have what is called Campus Pal app. It's developed by Gender Mobile. So it enables people to report incidents of sexual harassment without bringing themselves out. Campus Pal app. It is covered, we have like about 90% of tertiary institutions in Nigeria is covered there. So when you download the app, you'll understand how you can also report incidents of sexual harassment without being intimidated or harassed further. So that's an area that the lawyers in the house can utilize. Another one is strengthening law enforcement. So as civil society organization, we also build capacity of police officers. So sometime we had a capacity building workshop for police officers. We tag the effective policing around sexual and gender-based violence. So some of these guys are not even aware of the law, or some of them stretch themselves beyond the confines of the law. So there's need to build their capacity around that. There's also a low-hanging fruit with NATIP officers, National Agency for Trafficking, yeah, we all know that. So there's need for more collaboration. So we shouldn't just leave the work for the police. There's nothing wrong having a more capacity building workshop for officers of the Nigerian police and NATIP. Number 3, support survivors. So one of the things we also do in our organization is to provide trauma services, psychosocial support services for victims. So we all know the intensity of trauma, how intensely traumatic some of these victims are, and there's need for such services. We also have children and persons living with disability. Children and persons living with disability. So there are also areas where the lawyers can, come in to provide services, etc. We've talked about engaging with traditional rulers. So one of the cases you can pick up, we have cases where a pastor rapes a child, a pastor rapes a woman, but because the person is a pastor, is in jail, we all know how it will look like. They will cover it up. And one of the reasons we buttress the need to report is the person that rapes someone or abuses the child, if you do not report the person and the person is arrested, the person would go further to rape another person, right? Yes. So the one man you did not arrest is now responsible for raping 7 other people. But if you had taken that man out of the system, there would be no likelihood of, abusing someone else. So that's where we come strong. So we've had gridlocks around arresting pastors, we've had gridlocks around arresting traditional rulers, and sometimes the muscles are not there. But if you have a group of lawyers, show interest we would have had better success stories around these issues. We also have records of financial inducement. So this girl was raped, they sell banana, and the guy that raped her, when he got to arrest, the guy gave the mother of the girl 500,000. So on the day to appear in court, what did man do? She pulled herself out. So she's more interested in the financial gain than the welfare of the child and the damage that man would cause in the society. So we have areas where the lawyers can provide pro bono services. Strengthen child support system. So child support is basically with the Ministry of Women Affairs, but those guys lack capacity. There's need for more capacity. Since we had the child protection law enacted like over 15 years ago, we've not had something very serious. I will applaud Ministry of Justice. They've done well with the VAT law, but Ministry of Women Affairs have not done well with the child protection law. So there's room for more collaboration there. We still have high rates of child thefts in Akwa Ibom State. We still have baby factory and child marriage, especially in the riverine areas. So without mentioning the name of LGAs, just understand that when we go to the field with our data, there's a lot of child theft, baby factory, and child marriage in these riverine communities. So there's need for more awareness and there's need for prosecution. We also have something around what we call the STOP guidelines, safe termination of pregnancy guideline. So some people call it abortion law, but it's not an abortion law. So we came together as civil society organizations and some legal practitioners, and this was formulated at the national and it's cascaded down to the state. It has been adopted in Akwa Ibom State. So the thought around it is, if a child is raped and impregnated by the father, should that child carry that pregnancy to full time? So that guideline states that there are provisions where such pregnancy should be aborted. If a child of 12 years was raped and is pregnant, should she keep that pregnancy? So there are provisions in that guideline approved by the Federal Ministry of Health that all the state ministries of health should utilize and work with. But unfortunately, we have cases where these children are forced to keep such pregnancies, or where the pregnancies are terminated, they are being stigmatized. So there are low-hanging fruits there for us to work with. We also have stuff around sexual and reproductive health rights to address infant and maternal mortality. Are we aware that 75,000 women die annually in Nigeria from maternal mortality? 75,000. And 60% of that are preventable deaths. So the lady got pregnant, had issues in the previous pregnancy, but because the husband wants a son, and you've been told that this woman, if she goes again, she will die. The husband is insisting. So if there are provisions, if there are lawyers around to help such women, you won't have that much debt. So by the time you multiply 75,000 by 10 years, that's 750,000 dead for nothing. So we have things around that area. And lastly, ensure access to justice. So there's need for more collaboration with like I mentioned, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Women Affairs. Can we get a copy of the STOP guideline and go through the STOP guideline, understand the areas that we can come in to provide services for these people, and also look at the sexual and reproductive health rights of women, and and build capacity of law enforcement officers, especially the policemen and the NAMTIC officers. So in conclusion, justice and protection for vulnerable people is everyone's responsibility. So let's not just think about prosecution, but we can do more by creating awareness and promoting the need to report cases and not to cover up. Thank you and God bless us.
Program. It is time for questions and contributions.
The one that was spoken about by Chief Magistrate Elin, and of course my comrade and brother, now one of the biggest problems with the enforcement of the VAT law has been, like what Obama had said. There is an incident that we had where a father actually molested his 16-year-old daughter. And because the girl spoke out against it, the community exorcised her as being a witch and a wicked person. And the community made it look as if she formulated or tried to, impinge on the father's integrity and reputation. Now that is one of the biggest problems we have. When you hear something, say something, or whatever, the biggest challenge will be, the law just makes the provision. Now, the law does not punish the community for shielding these people. So that's one aspect of the law that we need to look at. Like we talked about the churches. We've seen we've had cases where people go for prayer sessions in the name of maybe prayer nights, and women are being molested. We've had reports where women go to church and pastors now insist that part of the deliverance process is that they have to beg for them, do all kinds of other activities on them. So now, the law does not, there's no how you can bring these people under the purview of the law, because like the VAT law, it doesn't cover the activities of the village council, who now exercises a girl for saying that my father did this to me. So we need to look at all of those and see how we can be able to integrate it in amending the relevant laws to cover these other lapses that we have experienced because of implementing the VAT law. Now, if you look at the awareness level as far as the sexual violence is concerned, and of course the rights of the vulnerable people in our society. I have a case that came to me, I think on Tuesday, where the president of the Persons Living with Disability in the correct when called me on this matter, women, that the guy is impaired. A man, the man asked him to do writing. He did an artwork or some drawing for him, and because this guy is impaired, the man refused to pay him after he had done the job and he had taken the job. And so that is one area where we can actually do pro bono services for people like that are most of our people that are really challenged and vulnerable are taken advantage of, and unfortunately they are taken advantage of by very able-bodied persons who are literate and should know. If a village head, a chief of a village who is the custodian of the village by law, is certificated by law and is the custodian and chief security officer of the village, is now a threat to the community or to the indigent children in the community, and there's nothing that can be done about it. I've had a case where a village head said, I'm the village head of this village, whatever I say stands. Okay, and what happened? If not because of Her Excellency, then First Lady of Akwa Ibom State, Dr. Mrs. Martha Olomimayo, was insistent, because that incident happened in Onalo government, she was insistent on ensuring that we go after these persons. If not because of that, that guy would have gone. In what he did, like what Ubong said, if the guy, after arresting the girl, what he did was that he looked at the mother and said, how much is your house, sir? How much is your money? What can you do? I am going to do anything you want. I can do this for you. And what he did, we offered them 100,000 naira. And then the police themselves were willing to persuade the woman to take the money for the treatment of the child. So these are the lapses that we need to look at. And because at the end of the day, you get to the police station doesn't do anything about it. The law cannot actually punish the police. What can we do to ensure that the workers in this field are, more diligent and more committed, and that if they fail or neglect in their duty, they can actually be punished. Thank you very much.
My name is Veronica Odo. I'm not a doctor, I'm a sociologist. And so there's, the last speaker, Mr. Bomb, this goes to you, sir. One, I'm involved with NGO things, and then I noticed in my own area that we do a lot of paperwork, but we not really see the work there. Some persons or some group of integrated NGO will say, okay, fine, when we are screening this child, this woman, please ask, is she being flogged? Is she being emotionally abused? That's flogging physical. She being sexually abused. And then you ask the question, and then that ends there. For some clients, they will accept it. But if you go further, they will tell you, just pen it down. We just need that information. As a sociologist, I'm not very okay with that. So why am I bringing this up? I want us to intentionally look into those NGOs and find out, like we said, we are catalysts, we are agents of change. We can sit on them and tell them to please go further and report these cases to the appropriate bodies. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Pastor Eket. I'm a journalist, a PR and media consultant. Actually, my question is that I'm just wondering why we have the increase in sexual abuse, especially father sleeping with his daughter. It's all over the country. It's always one day, one news in the paper. I'm just wondering. And number two, I really want to know the extent of Fida and NBA women. I mean, when it comes to pro bono issue. Something happened recently. I was just called as a lady, a girl from 7 years was raped, by the neighbor. And the neighbor raised an alarm, and so I called my head office. They couldn't give me the number of Fida. They didn't that Fida, talk with Fida. I called Fida in your state, and the woman was complaining. In fact, I was just asking simple questions. What should the lady do? How will she get cash? They are now on holiday. They are this, they are that. We complain. I was just not wondering that. Please, what's the extent of the pro bono issue? What's the extent of your job? When are you helping? When are you not helping? So that we draw the lines. People get to know that if I have such cases, these are the people I need to call, and I won't mind, and these are questions to mommy here, please. I would like to know the number of pro bono issues that you've handled under Fida and NBA women.
All right, thank you. The chairman of the NBA Eket branch, and the panelists. My name is Barrister Basi Akbar. I am an investment solicitor, specialty in cooperative finance. It's unfortunate that the presenter on retirement has left. What I want my colleagues to also know, and that's very important, is that you don't start to prepare for retirement when you are 50 or 60. You have to start to prepare for retirement as soon as you are employed. You don't have to wait till when you are 60 years, then you start to plan for retirement. For instance, for those who are employed by government, there is what they call contributory pension scheme. It's when you are employed that they start to deduct your money and kept for you, that by the time you retire, that money will be paid back to you as part of your contributory pension scheme. I know the NBA has done a lot on that and has exposed us to some scheme that can help us. But I'm saying that that's not enough. We have a lot, the NBA has a lot to provide for the welfare of lawyers. Because a lot of us have been asking, what am I benefiting from NBA? And that has adversely affected our performances in the legal profession and also our commitments to NBA. At times, we feel very sad about it and do not want to take part in NBA activities or those kind of things. Now, as the chairman has also said, I'm the president of the NBA Eket Multi-Purpose Cooperative Society Limited. In Eket branch, we have done so well that most of our lawyers here at the end of the year will go home with about 1 million naira or more than that. How does that happen? By contribution, daily contribution, money contribution, bi-weekly contribution. That has helped a lot of us here to have another source of income. But I want to say that is not enough. There are other windows, other platforms that you can go into. Like shares. If you are buying shares, shares is a long-term project and not a short-term project. So I will encourage my colleagues to look into that and invest so that their future will be better than what is obtainable right now.
Pastor Mrs. Jebede, I want to say clearly that the person sitting next to you is our Fida chairperson. And she's, yes, that's the Fida chairperson. And she's going to give you the breakdown. She's going to elicit points and facts which you are asking for. God will bless you all in Jesus' name. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding God will give to us in Jesus' name. And in this profession we will excel. We will make it. In the name of Jesus. It's time for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, members of the bench, our esteemed speakers, learned seniors and colleagues. On behalf of MBAWF Eket branch, I say a very big thank you to all of us that are here. You've made this day a success. We appreciate your presence. I also want to thank the chairperson, Fida Chairperson, Eket branch, Barrister Ime Edeneka. Thank you for hosting this session with us. I also thank all the participants that are still here. We appreciate your presence. One thing we should not forget, all that you have learned today, may it help us to make a better society. Thank you so much, and may God bless you all.